Righty, so I finished grading your week 8 Learn Together with the selecting of string exercises, and it was fun to see your different approaches to doing that. And most of you did. I was a little more lenient on some of your output just because the thing I wanted to see on your output was first the designation of whether they were easy, hard, right, or more challenging. And then what I wanted to see, of course, was that we didn't duplicate. And I had one of you, and I'm not going to mention any names, who actually said, honestly, I didn't look, which is okay. I mean, I was actually okay with that reply. So, but the output of what it seemed you did and the challenges you took on, especially I think two of you took on the Caesar challenge. I thought that was really good, and it's good to challenge ourselves. So I hope you enjoyed this week of doing, instead of all of us doing the same one, doing selected one or ones we select based on our own experience level. So again, I don't have anything specific other than, and by the way, the one thing I would say is do remember if you, like, it's one thing to Google, and which is fine, and to see somebody else's solution and then based on your understanding come up with your own version of that. But if you use their solution, you need to, if you only found it on Stack Overflow, then give a link to Stack Overflow, because part of what I said in that work, I'm pretty sure, was that if you do find a solution out there, spend the time to understand it. And again, working through the dev tools is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best ways to do it. Okay, so I actually give you a dev tools part of your assignment for next week. Come into week 9. So in week 9 in the course, Al is going to cover something that, I mean, I understand the importance of launching Python programs from outside of Python, and I this is why in the work for this item next week, I'm having you only take notes. You're more than welcome to try some of this stuff out, but I find it not as useful. But I think it's good to understand, like writing batch files, updating paths, understanding how to run that stuff. And because it's specific to Windows, that's why it's like I really try to stay away from I try to stay away from OS specific solutions. So that's why I do have you do the first part of regular expressions, and then we'll finish that up in week 10. I do have week 9 and 10 done, and I finished week 11 because I am trying to get to the point of finishing so that in reflecting on Dev 1, I can try to be as specific as possible. Like, here's one of the things I'm thinking about. Getting user input, and I say or using args, and args is shown in that video for week 9, section 9, and or using an external file, right? So you can choose 1, 2, or all 3, but probably you'll choose one of those paths to get the user input. Now, when you go to store and process that data into a file, you're going to learn when we get to the files section, which in this case will be 11, so it'll be after regular expressions. You're going to see a way to either just write straight strings to there, or to use the concept of a data dictionary, but the way that Python saves it, it actually saves it in a DB, and it's what we call more of a closer to a binary file that you really can't go in there and look at what's in that file. So I mean, part of me wants to say challenge yourself and use the binary or the data dictionary of saving those. But again, as you get to that section, I want, and this is really good. I already had, and I don't think Kelly would mind. Kelly came into, and if you do, Kelly, I apologize, but it came into office hours and we talked about his Dev 1. And I think that is a great approach because, I've tried to do this. I've tried to leave it somewhat, I'm looking at the camera, somewhat broad to allow you to flexibility to challenge yourself in some ways. But in this case, storing into a file, there'll be two. And there's other ways you could do it too. He does not even talk about the most common way, which is JSON, is writing to reading from JSON formats, which I'm a little surprised about, but it's because I come from the web world. Well, but even not just, I mean, excluding what is happening on the web, which is a big deal. So anyway, what's my point? My point is that I'm not specific here, so I want you to think about this. And this is where having a conversation with me will help you and I come to an understanding of what your goals are for Dev 1 to make sure you're on the right track. And again, I know you may want more detail, but I'm trying to be a little more general. So, and then you're going to store something into that file, and then you're going to read from that file. Okay, and generate some kind of summary data. We saw this when we first looked at data dictionaries and a list of data dictionaries. So that's why I'm kind of thinking about trying to do it because here's what I'm going to do for my Dev 1. I'm going to take out the computer generated gameplay, only use the user generated gameplay, write to a file, the outcomes, and a little more data, and then read from the file to generate a leaderboard. That's how I'm going to handle, because that allows me to handle this one, store it in a file, generate summary data. The use of regular expressions, I'm probably going to do two things. One is when I'm reading those blobs from the file, is making sure they're formatted correctly. And the other one is, I think I'm going to do this in relationship to validation of the user input. I may actually change it to where instead of numbers, they actually type rock, scissors, paper. We'll see. Handle the user input and read and writing data. So handle the errors on that. That's nothing new. That's stuff we saw in the first one. And then here's the one, like adding some functionality commands we have not seen in this course, and at least one example that you ventured out. So I already said this is you're going to learn. I want you to go through the debugging tools. Now, I'm going to show you how to use them in VS Code. Most of you, I've noticed, are using VS Code, so that should be fine. I think, because here's the other thing, is right the week that we have Dev 1, he's going to cover debugging. Now, this is going to be command line debugging. I find not as useful. So I'm actually thinking of giving an alternative path here for actually diving a bit deeper into the VS Code debugging. So because I've gotten to 11, I think I can do that pretty easily. So that's that. And then the last one is what's coming at us next week, right? So if you're going to use third-party libraries, it's fine, right? Just make sure they're not OS specific, and make sure you do the virtual env, which you are going to see coming into this week. So what I want you to be doing as we're moving through this is, right, and again, Kelly gave a good example of thinking about it. He's changing his topic and doing something more related to what he does on a day job, which I think is a great way to go. Really in the spirit of automating the boring stuff as well. So that's all good. So let me be clear. I threw out a concept or a kind of a thought out in Discord Thursday night about graphical user interfaces, GUIs. And that we would not do that for this Dev 1. We would actually do that for Dev 2. And here's, I just want you to know that, because some of you have been wondering. It's like, no, we're not going to throw that at Dev 1, because there's enough going on Dev 1 at this point. But I think if doing Dev 1, when I get my code to this point, then doing the next step, which is putting it in some kind of graphical, in this case, is it Tinker something? I'm going to show you. So I spent a little time going through a tutorial on Free Code Camp's channel, which was so good. And I really think it's fun. And here's where it's kind of like, because basically it's just using built-in Python to create the graphical user interface. where there are other tools out there. QPy is one. I mean, there's a whole list of them. But it's also like, why not use the browser? Why not use Django or Flask or something like that? And the reason I'm not thinking of doing that is that this class is not JavaScript. And so in order to do some of that, you're going to have to know some JavaScript, at least to handle the user validation. So that's why I'm thinking this would be a nice way to do it. But, that's really in this reply what I would be curious. And to give you a better idea, let me just show you based on how far I got into it, just playing around. Because you can do buttons. And somebody asked this, yeah, you can do handling user input. You can do actions. So like for me, I could have the user click on, let me just do the button ones. So here's what this is. And let me bring it over. Like this is it. This is the little graphical user interface. What I like about this is that, let's do it. This is that it works on all operating systems, right? And it's basically just a window, right? There's for the different operating systems. I think they call a different library to do this, but regardless, and then you can handle user input. You can click, you can get the user input. There's this, I just think this is a fun way to go. So why am I bringing this up? And by the way, again, I think I just went, coming back here, I just went into, probably I spent, how much time did I spend? I probably spent 30 minutes doing, just to get it that, which was pretty straightforward, and we can look at the code. So here's my thinking. And I know this is long, but here's my thinking. After we get back from Dev 1 into Dev 2, right? We were already going to run out of content as far as the course go, and I knew that, right? So I'm actually just kind of floating this idea because I think these are good things, and I think some of you will consume it because that's part of what you're going to go for, and I think in general it's good to consume that. But what my thoughts are right now is that after we get back from the Dev 1 and we return to our code alongs, is that we actually use that tutorial. Let me just bring it up. And it's like a 5-hour thing, right? It's like 5 hours. So I would break this up, and you can kind of see he actually builds a calculator, adding frames. I mean, there's just so much. You can add images. And again, the thing I like about this is it's completely Python. It's not like you got to learn something else, but I also think it teaches you concepts that can lend itself very well to transitioning to the web. And because this is really being taught right now in the web development, kind of out of that discipline, although in the coming semester it's going to be out of the data science one, it would really kind of say do either a data science project or a web project. So anyway, what do you think of that idea? First, do you understand what I'm proposing is that, after Dev 1, we spend the rest of week 13, 14, 15, 16, and it's really 17, 5 weeks after that, going through that, which would be about an hour a week, getting through that, and then taking what you have from Dev 1 and putting that graphical user interface on it for the last dev of this class. So it's your opportunity to give me feedback. What do you think about that idea? And maybe you like it, maybe you don't. And here's the thing I'll say is if you had a different idea of what you wanted to do, come talk to me. Like, that's the great thing about these classes at this point. And, the drop date is coming up next week. Next Friday, if you want to drop this class, you have until next Friday to do that. Otherwise, you hang out for a letter grade. And I've had really good participation in this class, and I know we've lost definitely a few students. And I always have a moment where I feel bad about that, and then I always know that things happen the way they're supposed to. And anyway, but at this point, because of the number, I really would love to hear, like, if you looked at after Dev 1 like I want to do this, and you approached me and you said, here's the things I want to do for Dev 2, and here's the content I'm going to consume, I'd be totally open to that. But of course, you'd had to have given that to me before we start into that content. Okay. So that's why I'm talking about this now. So next week, you learn how to do virtual environments. And I know Kelly made a comment that this seems like it'd be more leaning towards web stuff, but I don't think it's exclusive for that, because many things you need to be able to kind of contain that environment. Like that's what Docker, Kubernetes, and other things is all about, is being able to do that. Okay, I've blabbered enough. Have a great weekend. It's a beautiful one. I'm going camping this weekend. Have a good one. Peace out.